A special mission force for hire, risking their own freedom in the fight for what's right, seeking justice under a hail of bullets, begging the question, if 1,000 shots are fired but nothing is ever hit, is it really violence? There were explosions, laughter, and dishonorable discharges in front of and behind the cameras. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of the A-Team. Thank you to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video. Go to curiositystream.com/toygalaxy to save 25% right now. CuriosityStream is a subscription streaming service that offers thousands of documentaries and non-fiction titles from some of the world's best filmmakers, including exclusive originals. It's the Netflix for nerds, the Hulu for history buffs, the Disney Plus for the scientist in us. It's also extremely affordable at under $20 a year. CuriosityStream is the world's first streaming service addressing our lifelong quest to learn, to explore, and most importantly, to understand. CuriosityStream is available on many platforms: web app, Roku, Android, Xbox, smart TVs, iOS, Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. It's available worldwide with content that spans science, nature, history, technology, society, and lifestyle. And there are new exciting titles being added all the time. Go to curiositystream.com/toygalaxy for unlimited access to the world's top documentaries and nonfiction series. Use promo code TOYGALAXY to save 25% off. That means it's only $14.99 for an entire year, a fraction of the cost of most streaming services. Click the link below or go to curiositystream.com/toygalaxy and save 25% right now. That's only $14.99 for the whole year. Again, that's curiositystream.com/toygalaxy, and thank you again to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video. The A-Team is a live-action television series that ran 98 episodes over 5 seasons from 1983 to 1987. It is a mission of the week series that relied on a predictable, established narrative formula, but whatever it lacked in mystery, it more than made up for in Mr. T. The A-Team is a story that begins in medias res. That is, we join our heroes as the action is already happening, after tragedy has already befallen them. Thankfully, we don't have to wait long to get caught up, as the necessary details are covered in a single paragraph of narration that precedes the opening theme song. Quote, in 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team. As the narration states, 4 soldiers are on the run from military law enforcement for a crime they did not commit during the Vietnam War. Well, technically they did commit the crime, but at the time it wasn't a crime, it was a mission. They were given orders which they followed, but their commanding officer, who could prove their innocence, was killed and all the evidence was destroyed. The crime they absolutely did commit was breaking out of a military prison after their sentencing for the crime that they did not commit, which gives you some insight into their ability to work as a team to overcome difficult situations to accomplish a task. As fugitives, they are simultaneously trying to clear their names and make some money along the way by offering their services to those in need who can afford them. The kind of work they can do for you isn't easy, it isn't safe, and it isn't cheap. They are your last hope, and they're going to need your last dollar. The A-Team, or Alpha Team, is the term for the unit that goes in first to make things easier for Whiskey Team, Tango Team, and Foxtrot Team. This A-Team is led by brilliant strategist, cigar aficionado, and master of disguise John Hannibal Smith. Second in command is smooth-talking acquisitions specialist and team accountant Templeton Faceman Peck. They are joined by pilot H.M. Howlin' Mad Murdoch, who was technically declared insane, but perhaps he's not the only master of disguise on the team. And finally, mechanical expert / muscle with a fear of flying, Bosco B.A. Baracus. The B.A. stands for Bad Attitude. With a handful of additional sympathetic associates, the A-Team fights to make a difference, to pursue justice one day at a time, one mission at a time, finding purpose in the work that they do, despite the path it took to get them to that place. They are unlikely heroes fighting an unlikely battle with unlikely methods. The A-Team was created by Stephen J. Cannell and Frank Lupo after they were caught in the impact zone of a whirlwind elevator pitch by NBC Entertainment president Brandon Tartikoff. Tartikoff, who was in the process of willing NBC out of 3rd place in the network television rankings, was fresh off an entertainment binge that included The Dirty Dozen, The Road Warrior, Magnificent Seven, and Mission Impossible. He was certain that there must be a plan to bring all those elements together, a show about the people you turn to when no one else can do what needs to be done. Off-center characters accomplishing impossible tasks while laughing in the face of danger, in a way that viewers would love. Stephen J. Cannell was already an established creator in television, but ABC had fired him for failing to produce another winner just a few years before. He'd invested a lot into Stephen J. Cannell Productions and needed a win. Frank Lupo, also a proven success in television, had been a producer on Cannell's Greatest American Hero since it began in 1981. The A-Team was the result of the two creators hearing what NBC President Tartikoff was saying, and more importantly, understanding what he meant. Cannell saw it as, quote, just break all the rules, and make a really out there show with different kinds of leading men that you've never seen on TV before. The leader of the A-Team, John Hannibal Smith, was originally conceived for James Coburn, but the part was given to George Peppard, who, like Cannell, was looking for a win. Peppard had been known as a leading man since at least the 60s when he appeared opposite Audrey Hepburn in 1961's Breakfast at Tiffany's. He even headlined the series Banachek in the mid-70s. Peppard had struggled with alcoholism and developed a reputation for being difficult on set. He overcame the former, but still had to work on the latter, and his role in 1980's Battle Beyond the Stars didn't have the same effect on his career that Battlestar Galactica had on Dirk Benedict's. In fact, Benedict was the guy that Cannell and Lupo wanted when they wrote the character of Face, and they continued to fight for him after NBC chose to go with Tim Dunnigan because NBC thought Benedict looked too old. You may recognize Dunnigan as Captain Power from the TV series Captain Power that aired 4 years later in 1987. He was replaced by Benedict after the pilot episode, because as much as NBC thought Benedict was too old, Dunnigan looked too young for the audience to believe he was a veteran of the Vietnam War, which was integral to the show. Dwight Schultz was an established stage actor picking up character roles on TV here and there, but his performance as Murdoch was so well received by the production that the character was added to the team long term. B.A. Baracus was a slightly modified version of the already fully realized public persona of Mr. T. As with any role Mr. T was cast in, it was hard to tell where the character of Mr. T ended and the character he was playing began. It's the ultimate example of typecasting. Everybody's talking about B.A. Baracus, but it's still Mr. T to me. For the audience that the A-Team was intended for marketing, Mr. T was the central element. If you're trying to find different kinds of leading men that you've never seen before, that's it. That's your guy. The public persona of Mr. T got national attention in 1980 when he appeared on America's Toughest Bouncer, featuring events like breaking down doors and boxing. It was his physical prowess and charisma that caught the eye of a casting director and inspired Sylvester Stallone to audition him for Rocky III. That's not right. And inspired Sylvester Stallone to audition him for Rocky. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Something's wrong with the Wi-Fi in here. I think my last shot, the G5's me up.
5G?
Yeah, whatever.
The 5G?
G5 airplane? 1983 was the year of T. A-Team aside, there were other T projects designed to take advantage of his celebrity. He made appearances on popular television shows like Different Strokes and Alvin and the Chipmunks. He was featured in DC Cab, directed by Joel Schumacher. Hanna-Barbera launched an animated series called Mr. T, with Mr. T in the role of Mr. T, training a gymnastics team and solving mysteries. He had created a personality that looked like a super tough guy, but was really a kind-hearted spirit. He took every opportunity he could to encourage kids to give thanks to God, eat right, exercise, and be nice to their moms. Kids loved him.
At Universal Studios, you can have a whole day of fun.
And see how movies are made. You get to talk with Kit the car from Knight Rider.
Hello.
And now you can see the new A-Team live-action show with awesome explosions, incredible motorcycle crashes, and great car stunts.
Universal's new live attraction, based on the Stephen J. Cannell hit series, The A-Team live-action show.
It's only part of the new magic at Universal Studios. Be there.
The season 1 cast also featured Melinda Kulia as Amy Allen. Narratively, she was a reporter who was pursuing the story of these soldiers and ultimately befriends them as an ally. Structurally, she was a female character keeping pace with the boys on their crazy adventures. But her appearances were inconsistent. As an actress, she felt like the role was pointless. If they weren't going to make Amy Allen an integral member of the team, why even have her there? After appearing in 24 episodes, she had enough and left the show of her own accord. Or did she? See, George Peppard already had a reputation for being difficult to work with. Coming into the show, he was the biggest star in the cast. Once the show was on the air, it was clear that he was not the biggest star in the cast, or at least wasn't going to be for very long. Cannell had worked with Peppard previously on Banachek and knew that the keys to keeping him happy were a big paycheck and a degree of creative control, which could be accomplished through him, Stephen J. Cannell, creator and writer of the A-Team. As Mr. T's popularity continued to skyrocket, Peppard tried to maintain control of his authority on the A-Team. Stories vary as to who said or did what. Peppard claims that Mr. T demanded the firing of multiple crew members. Other sources claim that it was Peppard who got Melinda Coulia fired because he felt she was a fifth wheel and that the rest of the cast had to put up with her discontent. Her replacement was Tanya Baker in the role of Marla Heasley, another reporter following the exploits of the A-Team. She claims that upon taking the role, Peppard straight up told her, quote, "We don't want you on the show. None of the guys want you here. The only reason you're here is because the network and the producers want you. For some reason, they think they need a girl." She was written off the show after only 10 episodes, with Peppard making sure to let her know on the way out that, quote, "This has nothing to do with you. You were very professional, but there's no reason to have a girl." The power struggle between the used-to-be star of George Peppard and the star of the future Mr. T resulted in the two refusing to address each other when not in character. Robert Vaughn, a friend of Peppard's whom he had worked with on previous projects including Battle Beyond the Stars, was brought in as a cast member in the final season in an attempt to ease tensions. But not even Robert Vaughn could steer them through the disgruntled waters. The A-Team theme was composed by Mike Post and Pete Carpenter and was so popular that it was released multiple times on vinyl and cassette. Post won a Grammy at age 23 for his arrangement of Mason Williams' Classical Gas in 1968. He even worked with Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. The A-Team's primary mode of transportation was a now iconic 1983 GMC Vandura, black and gray with a rising red stripe capped off with a spoiler. Driven by B.A. Baracus, it was full of whatever contrivances the team might need for that episode. A printing press, Hannibal's disguises, surveillance equipment, weapons, Murdoch, a sunroof when necessary, and most importantly, the ability to repair itself after getting absolutely wrecked through the course of the team's adventures. And let's be clear, the A-Team van is 3 colors, black, red, and gray. If you remember it as all black, you probably spent too much time with the toys and not enough time watching the actual show. And for that, I can't stay mad at you. Not only were inaccurately decoed 1/64th versions of the van produced by Ertl in 1983, but you could also get Faceman's Corvette, Cars and Trucks, Murdoch's helicopter, AMT model kits, walkie-talkies. LJN included the A-Team in their Rough Riders and Mask-style form-changing car line called Switchforce. Tyco produced a slot car racing set. There were full-size role-play toys and guns, and a true indicator of how successful the show was, Galoob hit the shelves with 2 lines of action figures in 2 different sizes, 3 3/4 inch and 6 inch, each pitting the A-Team against a generic squad called the Bad Guys. 3 3/4 inch means you can focus on vehicles like the A-Team's van, Face's Vet, a patrol boat, a tank, and an interceptor bomber fighter jet. They produced a combat headquarters playset that was basically just a playmat, a sandbag fortification, and a bunch of weapons. Nearly the entire line was just head swaps from Galoob's previously existing line of military figures called General Patch. The 6-inch line brought the core characters, Hannibal, Face, B.A., Murdoch. The Bad Guys return with larger versions of Python, Rattler, Cobra, and Viper. Some vehicles this time, and Amy Allen gets a figure as well. However, she's the only one without some kind of weapon in her accessory loadout. In Brazil, Glass Elite produced a range of figures, vehicles, and accessories under the name Esquadrão Classe A. There was a Jeep you couldn't get in the US, a boat you couldn't get in the US, a Porsche race car you couldn't get in the US, and a Scorpion TL3A that you could not get in the US. 3 issues of the A-Team were published by Marvel in the same month, March of 1984, so they could be sold individually or bagged together as a set. 2 of the books were written by Jim Salicrup, who said there was such a tight deadline, he was only able to watch a single episode before writing his plots and getting Universal to sign off on them. In the UK, an A-Team comic strip ran in the magazines Look In and TV Comic. Dell published 6 novels based on the A-Team in the US. They are generally adaptations of existing episodes. The series was more popular in the UK, where 4 more books follow the initial 6. You can find them in soft or hardcover, but be careful, they have different cover art.
Think before you buy.
Parker Brothers released an A-Team board game, which is pretty standard fare. Roll the dice, move your paper token, take a card, repeat until someone recovers the secret formula that was stolen by the bad guys. But more importantly, check out the color photos of B.A. Baracus inside the box as specifically called out on the cover art. The A-Team was a little early for a reasonable excuse for a video game. That said, an unreleased prototype for an Atari 2600 cartridge exists, although it took some liberties with the mythology. You control a giant B.A. Baracus head that can shoot bullets in all directions while attempting to stop bad guys from disabling the A-Team rocket before it can launch. In 1985, the A-Team was released for the Commodore 64. You are cast in the role of a bad guy shooting bullets up at disembodied A-Team heads like Space Invaders. If you're hit by their bullets, you are captured and must try again. In 1989, an Operation Wolf-inspired shooter was released for the Amstrad CPC, but only in Spain. It's a side-scrolling shooter that is probably about what you would have wanted from an A-Team game at the time, except that you could actually kill stuff. The A-Team was everywhere. Their faces, the branding appeared on a lot of merchandise, and we cannot possibly cover it all here. Bedsheets, soap, Viewmasters, stickers, color forms, shrinky dinks, laser blazers, kites, and more. The A-Team was a hit. In its first 3 seasons, it was regularly reaching 20 to 25% of televisions in the US, regularly finishing in the top 5 overall. By the 4th season, those numbers had dropped precipitously, putting the show in 29th place. Viewers were getting bored with the formula, and the show had become an easy target for critics who were worried about violence on television. Despite the fact that there was almost no blood ever shown, regardless of the fact that only a handful of deaths ever occurred despite millions of bullets being fired. NBC knew what they had and knew it wasn't going to last forever. Tartikoff himself stated that, quote, "We are not looking for Emmy Award nominations, but to get the blood pumping at the network. In that, the A-Team has exceeded my expectations." In the 5th and final season, they shook up the status quo. The A-Team was finally apprehended by the military. They are then approached by General Hunt Stockwell, a CIA operative, who can arrange pardons for that crime they did not commit in Vietnam if they're willing to take on Suicide Squad-type missions impossible. Step 1, fake their deaths with the help of Frankie Dishpan Man Santana. Step 2, break out of military prison. Again. Step 3, survive long enough to complete their missions to earn their freedom. But the new formula only lasted 13 episodes before dropping out of the top 50. The A-Team's final episode aired in 1987. As of 2010, Universal Studios has released all 5 seasons of the A-Team on DVD in multiple regions. Region 1, Region 2, Region 8, probably all of the regions. If you got rid of all your physical media players, you can still watch the series streaming through Starz, Tubi TV, and Cozy. In 2010, amidst a flourish of movies adapted from 70s and 80s television shows, the A-Team feature film was released by 20th Century Fox. Same characters, new actors. Liam Neeson as Hannibal, Bradley Cooper as Face, Sharlto Copley as Murdoch, and Quentin Rampage Jackson as B.A. Dirk, Benedict, and Dwight Schultz make brief appearances. George Peppard passed away in 1994. Mr. T declined to be in the film, feeling it was not being handled in the true spirit of the original. Specifically, it was too violent, too sexual, and betrayed the sense of good family fun that the original series embraced, he thought. Regardless, the movie made $177 million against a budget of $110 million, which sounds good, but wasn't good enough to greenlight a sequel. There was certainly a magic in the original series, and either the film didn't capture it, or it no longer applied. In September of 2015, Fox announced that they were bringing the A-Team back as a series with Chris Morgan executive producing and Cannell's daughter Tanya McKiernan and Albert Kim writing. It is now 2021, and it seems like that is no longer the plan. In 2016, the A-Team were included in the LEGO Dimensions line of interactive toys. B.A. Baracus and the A-Team van could be purchased as physical add-ons, and the rest of the team appeared in-game. That same year, they were released as Funko Pops, B.A. available with and without the van. The A-Team was a pop culture phenomenon that persevered despite complications behind the scenes, fighting the battle against criticism for its depiction of violence while simultaneously establishing themselves as the benchmark for lack of any real consequences from all the perceived violence. When no one else could help, they saved a network that needed them, found them, and hired them. Close enough. That's the theme of the show. Close enough. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you haven't heard, we started streaming on Twitch. Find us twice a week at twitch.tv/toygalaxy. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, whatever. Please visit our Patreon or become a YouTube channel member. Please share this video and let us know in the comments down below if you even knew there was a 5th season of the A-Team. If you asked me, I would have said that they had more than one, less than 10. I absolutely did not know there was a new remixed theme song, all jacked up with synthesizers and stuff. It's just different enough that it feels like your time-traveling, dimension-jumping device had a mix-up, and maybe you made it back to your original timeline. But if this is the only difference, then it's close enough anyway. I'm staying.
Cut.